wonderful Sunday morning. Today we are gonna just chill and hang out and just talk about some of the things that have been going on lately and kind of answer a lot of the questions that have been coming up through the chat on a lot of the videos that have been released last week. So just kind of want to say hi to everyone and welcome to all of the new subscribers, all of the new viewers to the Let's Build That App channel, where we build out applications that we find out on the App Store and try to build it out from scratch and see what we can learn. So let's see, how are you guys doing today? Still trying to get all of the audio set up working again, and I don't know exactly what I can do. So volume is pretty low, and I'm going to turn up the gain knob just a little bit here. Okay, so I think this is all I can do. Voice is too loud, volume very low, just hearing on the left ear. So it seems like the audio kind of is all over the place here. Left channel only. Something is really strange with how the audio is working, but I guess for today you guys are just gonna listen to the left side of the audio channel. It's really strange. Anyways, not a professional audio person. Alright, so let me just pick out some questions here for today, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Just hearing the left side. Now I'm like super curious. Side should be okay. Everything's coming in. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to get all the audio working, and volume is super low. Yeah, not too much I can do about it right now. As some of you guys can tell, voice is a little bit or kind of under the weather today. I think I stayed out too late last night, and now I'm paying consequences for it. So looks like quite a few people in the live stream today, and yeah, I'm just gonna at the very most I'm just gonna do probably 30 minutes today. Come down with, I guess, a cold of some sort, and let's see. Yeah. Volume is too low. Yeah. All right, so let me answer one of these questions here. So Miguel asked, well, what did you study in college? What is your major? So for whatever reason, people have been asking me this question a lot. And if you just go on linkedin.com, you can find out my entire portfolio, where I went to school. And that's probably a much better summary than I can give you right now. Basically, I study applied math. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't really care about colleges. I I have my own opinion on the educational system and how sometimes it's not always the best route for a majority of people. I think if you really know what you want to study, then you can pretty much get everything you need off the internet. That's kind of my opinion here. Yeah. Oh, Johan says that I just built a Hackintosh and I'm having so much trouble with it. Can't even boot into the installer. It's a fun challenge, but also kind of frustrating. Yeah. Audio is low. Okay, how about I modify some of the settings here. Audio. Okay. What does the volume sound like now? Is this your voice or are you under a cold? Yeah, I'm definitely under a cold right now. Just gonna turn off all of this stuff here and hopefully you guys can still hear me. Okay. All right. So lesson learned, don't try to do too much. Just go the simple route. And here we go, way better. That's good. So the question about the Hackintosh, roughly about 10 years ago, I was also working off of Hackintosh. And I also found that it was really, really complicated to set up a machine that was reliable and that I can program, launch Xcode, and even boot up reliably every day. So if you don't have too much, I guess if you don't have anything to do, it's a fun little hobby project. But the moment I bought myself an actual MacBook Pro, I just found it much easier to boot up my machine every day. So audio is better. Yeah. Do you want to talk about push notification or cloud functions in the near future? Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a couple of lessons, maybe one or two video lessons on the Instagram Firebase course about push notifications and how you can send a push whenever someone tries to follow you, like in the application. So that's my thought process for now. I don't know exactly when I'm going to be able to do that yet. I'm still working on getting up a pagination lesson for Firebase, which is somewhat complicated. Just trying to load things from Firebase and then figuring out when you can load more things. It's not all that straightforward, but yeah. Yeah, so Louis Silva, where can we find your portfolio? The major application that I used to work on was called A Touch of Modern, and aside from that, I don't really have anything else on the App Store at the moment. Yeah, and so Touch of Modern makes, I don't know, $10 million every month, and that company is doing very well, and the application is also doing very well. Ever since I left the company, they've made very little, few updates to the application. So all the code that I wrote from scratch has pretty much been able to stand the kind of just make its way through 2016 and 2017. So one man Ryan asks, where can I buy a Let's Build That App t-shirt? Is it on eBay or Amazon? How many of you guys are interested in buying a t-shirt if I make one? That'll be interesting. The thing with t-shirts is that it probably costs like $15 to make it, and you have to probably charge $20 to make a profit off of it. And so it's not all that interesting to me yet. If I want to make a t-shirt, there's also other things like selling virtual goods and selling tangible goods is totally different. So I don't know if I have the time to go into that yet. All right, so it looks like Ryan Temple, seriously, can't thank you enough for the Instagram tutorial. It was the best $50 I've spent on the channel. It'd be cool if you could add support for user uploading a short video as well as picture. Yeah, so Ryan, thank you very much for the very, very generous $50. Yeah, a lot of you guys have said that you've learned a lot in the Instagram course, and I honestly believe it's worth like $1,000 for that course. In total, it probably took me about 200 plus hours to produce that actual course. You know, preparing, planning, kind of scripting, editing, uploading, and you know, it took a lot of time. So if you calculate 200 hours at, I don't know, maybe $100 an hour, if you make that as my hourly rate, it's a $20,000 investment on my side to provide you guys with all of that content. And Ryan, I'm really, really happy to hear the positive feedback about the course. And if you guys that are interested in that course, you can perhaps go to this website here, and maybe I'll push myself on the left over here. So that's the Facebook group, and also this is the course if anyone's interested at letsbuildthatapp.com/course/Instagram Firebase. A couple of hundred folks have enrolled in that course, and I've been trying to keep it up to date ever since Xcode 9 has come out, or Xcode 9 beta anyhow. I'm figuring out how to update all the source code to Swift 4, and also updating the pods to match the latest Firebase 4 SDK. So I'm trying to update everything, and at the same time trying to put out a new course, which will probably be some kind of mapping course is what I'm thinking about. Initially, I thought about producing like an Uber clone, or a what's the other guy called? The mustache guys, Lyft. Yeah, that's what they're called. One of those apps. It's doable, but it's a little bit complicated with the way that cars and other GPS locations are tracked. So I am still contemplating how to best teach you guys how to use things like maps and even Google Maps and the SDKs around that. Yeah. So that is that. Let's block that out of there. Yeah. So Ryan, if you're interested in figuring out how to use the video playing SDK libraries of not UI Kit but AV Kit, AV Foundation, you can watch the YouTube Let's Build That App, Let's Build YouTube on this channel, and I go through at the very end a couple of lessons on how to build out an AV player. And then also on the Firebase chats series at the very end, I think I show you guys how to upload videos and play it in that little chat window. So if you want to learn how to do it, you can watch those two series on the YouTube channel for free. And I will try to do some video. Oh, maybe I'll have to think about what I want to do with the other lessons in that course. So again, thank you, Ryan Temple, for all of your generous donations. Yeah. The good thing about the support that everyone's been giving me is that it's allowed me to have a little bit of free time to kind of experiment with different types of videos. So I've been trying to do some like more videos that I can just answer your guys' questions in like 5 to 6 minutes. I'm just trying to figure out what else I can do to help you guys out, and also somehow, some way, start out the Android channel that I've been wanting to start ever since last year. I know I've been telling you guys for the longest time that I'll be releasing Android content, but it's been quite busy, let's just say that. So let's see. Am I interested in joining a startup? So for the most part, I've kind of given up on, I guess, writing code professionally. Because I've been writing code for the last 10 years, you get kind of tired of waking up at 9, going to the office, having your manager tell you what kind of features to build out, and then writing out the code, having your teammates code review your code, and then committing it, pushing it, releasing it, and then repeating that every sprint, every month, every release, writing out tests, waiting for user feedback, telling you how your application is broken in so many places, and then fixing all those bugs. So doing that for 10 years. You know, in the beginning, it's a lot of fun. And if I were to go back and do it again, I would find it really fun also. But sometimes the challenge seems to be, sometimes the challenge isn't there anymore. So whenever the challenge is gone, you find yourself just kind of sitting around thinking about what else you can do when you want to find the inspiration to learn about more coding. So that's kind of why I started out this YouTube channel, and why I've kind of stayed away from startups in general. As you can imagine, this channel has, I don't know, 60,000 subscribers, right? I've been approached by just a lot of people, you know, maybe a couple of people a week, about joining their startup, not getting paid, getting equity. And it's just not that interesting to me nowadays to do all that. You know, I find teaching people all around the world a lot more rewarding. I know that sounds pretty cliche, but just seeing how I can change the world just using this channel is pretty impactful to me. Okay. Give Ryan Temple a free t-shirt. Yeah, so Ryan Temple, whenever I create one of these t-shirts for this channel, you will definitely be one of the first to get one of those t-shirts. Yeah. Okay. Wasim, thanks for the amazing Instagram course. I am looking about UI animation course from you. It would be amazing. Yeah. Oh God. Okay, a lot of questions today. That's our gadget. We have to play ball. I heard your jumper almost started a play. That's how sick it is. Yeah. So he's talking about basketball. I haven't really talked about my personal life on this channel a whole lot, but one of my favorite things to do in this world is to play basketball. If I were to rank coding and basketball on my things to do list, I would say basketball is like right up there, and then coding is like right there as well. And the next thing I like doing is Right now, I've been trying to get into video filming, cinematography, but a lot harder than it looks. So Johan says, I will buy a map course if you release that. It's really fascinating. Yeah. Swift 4 makes strings so much easier. Yes, strings in Swift, just in general, in Swift 2 and Swift 3, have been pretty difficult to work with. And Swift 4, I've heard good things about strings. Okay. I've seen a lot of coding examples. For example, I looked at the examples from Stanford iOS course. It's crazy organized. There are so many techniques that I get confused which route to go. So Kia Rash. The thing about coding and the thing about just any type of skill is that when you're starting out, you don't have to worry about like code organization. It's hard to kind of explain for someone that's just getting into coding. I guess let's go back to the basketball example. If you look at how one of the greatest players play, right? Like just look at either Michael Jordan or Stephen Curry when they shoot the basketball, they've developed their like shooting technique over the last 10 years of their career. So like shooting technique has to, some of you guys that don't play basketball, whenever you shoot the ball, like when you shoot the ball, right, you have to consider almost 10 different things when you shoot the ball. You have to consider your hand, where it's actually on the ball, and then your guiding hand, and then the degrees you're turned facing the rim, and then you have to think about your legs and how you build up the strength and the power to generate your shot, and then you have to like follow through with your shot. So all of those things, right? You get better and better after like 10 years. If you think about coding in that sort of analogy, in the beginning, you just want to make sure you put the ball in the hoop. And when you're talking about coding, it's just making sure your program works. And you don't have to worry about coding conventions, organizations so much in the beginning. It's something that you get better at the more code you see. It's like a natural evolution for almost all developers. The best way you can learn to learn. Sorry, only to learn me how to learn code. Yeah. So Mike Torp Pedersen. If you are just like super confused about coding, just watch this channel. Watch the ways I code. Yeah. And so one thing I want to say about this channel is that a lot of the lessons I don't really explain in too much detail as to how things work. And that's kind of how it works at a real job. No one's going to explain to you like, oh, here's how a UI view controller constructs the view, puts it on the screen. No one ever tells you that. All you can rely on is seeing someone's code, seeing how it works on the simulator, and then you have to understand based off that exactly what the code is doing. You have a lot of animations to show as how to build without storyboard. Yeah, the other thing I want to say about storyboards is that you're really cheating yourself if you use a storyboard, because the quicker you get into coding, like the quicker you actually start typing out code, the faster you'll pick up Swift. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I don't use a storyboard. I just want everyone to get into the habit of coding a lot. And also when you go into the interview room, the whiteboard, the more your brain thinks about doing things in code, the easier it'll be to write out your solutions on the whiteboard. So that's kind of what I have to say about that. Apple Watch tutorial, probably never. I can live in your basement. So Brian, have you used Kotlin? If so, what are your thoughts about it? So I made a quick little app using Kotlin a few months ago. I found that it was pretty easy to learn. Definitely the syntax was new to me, But after a while, it just became another language, just like Swift. It felt like it was super easy to work with. Things like Scala and Groovy. So these are just two very advanced, high-level Java languages, Java and Groovy, or Scala and Groovy. Scala is a language that I spent about 2 months, or probably like 6 weeks to learn, and I was never able to pick up Scala. And then, so going to Kotlin, it just felt super simple. Kotlin really looks like Swift, has the idea of optionals, and well, optionals really came from Java anyways. Yeah. So Ryan, yeah, you'll either have to watch the entire series for the YouTube series or the Firebase chat series, but you can just download the source code at the very end and just look at how the code works. It's pretty straightforward. How do you feel about using Udemy to learn code? I think whatever option that you find helpful, you should go for it. I think Udemy is a good resource, and then once you pick up how to like learn how to code the basics using Udemy, then you can move on to my courses, which are a lot more advanced, to say the least. Oh God, having a cold is not so fun when you're trying to hold a live stream. Drink some tea here. I just want to check how I'm doing on the live stream time. Okay. So let me get to Dennis's donation / question. Okay. Or not Dennis, but Fred. So good to see you again, Fred. How can I convert test a production app with Xcode 9 and Swift 4? Can I make a branch, or do I have to copy the app? What is your advice? Yeah, so Fred, if you want to start developing in Swift 4 and Xcode 9 beta, what you can do is make sure your code for Swift 3 is up in some kind of code repository somewhere, for example, GitHub, and then you would branch off the latest code there, and then just start experimenting with Swift 4. A lot of the libraries, such as Alamo Fire, you can see they do the same thing. They have a Swift 2.3 branch, and then they branch off that to their Swift 3 experimentation branch. And then once Swift 3 becomes official, they merge all of that code into the main branch, and then they use that as the SDK whenever you install it via CocoaPods. So if you want to take a look at how it's done in open source projects, I would recommend looking at the Alamo Fire GitHub repository. Okay. So Johan says, I just bought a Huawei 手机. Need a Android tutorials. I can imagine they would be awesome. Have you tried Android Studio 3.0? Yeah. So when I was in China, Huawei, that brand for cell phones, they're just everywhere. It's one of the bigger brands for cell phones in China, and it's a really nice phone. I need to get a testing Android phone so I can start building out applications and writing out these lessons. I started using Android Studio 3.0 I think last month, where Kotlin is kind of native to Android Studio now, and it's still a really good IDE. If I were to choose from Xcode and the Android Studio IDE, I would probably choose the Android Studio IntelliJ IDE made by JetBrains. Xcode just feels really slow. That's one huge thing I don't like about it. Ramses Toledo, can you give me a hint on how to approach building a player bar like Apple Music? Should I build a new UI view for when I transition to full view of the player, or have all on the same view. So I've built one of these audio players before. It's not all that difficult. If you have a tab bar at the bottom, you just have to make sure it anchors itself on top of that tab bar. And I would say you build it with a UI view first, and then you have subviews inside of that player view. You know, for example, the thumbnail or the cover art for the album. And then you have the play, pause, fast forward, next track, all those buttons. So you just got to take your time and build out each component one by one, and there you go. Yeah. Have you ever contributed to open source development? If yes, then how was the experience? I've never really done open source projects. This whole YouTube channel itself is an open source project, right? You guys get all of the code for free. You guys can see exactly how it's typed out. But yeah, I've never really contributed to any of the major open source repositories. Not really interested in doing that either. But one thing that you'll find super helpful is that open source projects kind of work like a real company. You have to get your commits checked, you have to get them verified and reviewed by the main authors of the open source project, and going through all that process, merging your code, trying to figure out how git diff works. Those are all the skills that are really, really helpful at a real job. Yeah. So Tyler P, yeah. I've just found a channel, looking forward to going through tutorials. I've completed a bootcamp but didn't get enough CS to get a job, so I'm going through Stanford materials. Yeah. So that guy Paul Haggerty, I think, has a really good tutorial series on the basics of iOS. But if you want to learn more like advanced material, I highly suggest the Instagram Firebase course that is on the website letsbuildthatapp.com, and that course has 40 videos on how to build out, tab bar controllers, how to generate images, how to upload them into Firebase, how to pull it down, how to follow users, how to just do a bunch of stuff that you'll need if you are applying for a job. Yeah. Chang Jeffrey, I just finished your Instagram course. What course are you brewing up next? Yeah. Oh man, I think I need to hire someone else to help me produce courses. So that's the other thing I've been thinking about lately. Like, how can I pump out more content while doing other things that I want to do? So the major problem is that I want to put out other types of content, and I want to hire someone else that can also teach iOS programming, Android programming, and server-side programming. But the issue is that the way that I've set up everything, you guys know me really, really, really well over the last year and a half of spending time watching all of these videos, right? And it's a little jarring if someone else were to come on and teach you guys with their teaching methodologies. So I'm trying to reconcile how that will work, and also at the same time try to produce and give you guys enough content to consume. Yeah. So Sean Allen, thanks for the inspirational channel. How did the opportunity to be an instructor for Mobile Makers cohort come about? So Mobile Makers, as you probably know, last year they had their program up on their website, and I was trying to look for things to do after I quit my job in January of 2016. So I was just looking around for things to do. I didn't really want to join a startup again. So I went on a couple of websites to see if they needed anyone to teach a boot camp. So I just applied, went in, talked to Jesse, and then she offered me the job. And then I did it for 3 months. Was it 2 months? Yeah. So I taught for 2 months. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. All right. So thank you. Thank you, Sean. Sean, I've been watching your videos a lot. I think they're really good. We really have to start like a collaboration sometime soon. Yeah, I think the way that you're doing your channel is you're doing a great job at it, and I'm just happy to see your channel growing at the rate it's growing. Yeah, I think you'll have a pretty huge following if you spend enough time just investing in your channel, and then we'll have 2 really good channels about iOS development, and then perhaps I can move off of iOS and start doing Android content and then server-side content, and you'll take over the iOS side. El Gran Maestro, or El Gran Maestro, the Grand Master? Is that what that means? Maestro. Maestro? What's a maestro? Is that a conductor? A musician conductor? Is that what it is? Thank you for the kind donations. Brad smile. Yeah. My top 3 pods. I don't really have pods that I like all that much. I think the pod that everyone uses is Alamo Fire. I think that's a pretty good pod. I've learned a lot just going through the pod itself, like how networking works. And if I had an option, I would probably not use it. And that's just because I'm a little bit selfish about writing the code myself. Yeah, I actually prefer writing the networking code myself if I had the option to do so. But the problem is when you join little small companies that have engineers that are already using Alamo Fire, then you have to follow suit and use Alamo Fire as well. Yeah, so Grand Maestro, thanks Brian for your videos, great work, keep inspiring us. Yeah, I think I'll be around for the next year or 2, seeing how the channel, when I first started, I didn't think I was going to get like 10,000 subscribers in the first year. Now we're at 60,000. It seems like maybe I've hit a chord, or I've hit a little secret niche spot in the YouTube universe where someone that knows how to code is actually something that people want to watch. Yeah, I really have a passion for coding. I've been doing it ever since like 17 years old. I've been coding, and I haven't lost any passion for it over the last 10-15 years. I still love it as much as I did back then. It's gotten like more and more complicated over the years with more languages coming out, but things have gotten a lot easier as well. So yeah. Sean, thanks for the kind words, Brian. We'll have to play some ball in the future as well. Yeah. I saw your video where you were playing basketball at the YMCA gym? Man, those guys looked pretty fierce. I haven't played with like fierce competition in a while. I used to play at the RSF at UC Berkeley. Man, those guys were humongous. Like these big guys. Like, yeah. So if you go to the RSF, you'll find there's three basketball courts. We call them court A, B, and C. And court A, you'll just play with like these big black dudes and these big white dudes. These guys are like 6'2", 6'3", and when we were there, they're constantly throwing up alley oops and just dunking on us. And I'm like 5'10", 5'9", 5'10", so those guys are incredibly difficult to guard. Yeah, Bojan Babik, I want to say thanks, found your channel, and from it started watching some recommendations about websites, and right now learning how to code finally. Yeah, you know, coding is fun. And when you start out with like coding how to set up a view, you start to see how it works. You develop this understanding, this little nugget of truth for programming. So once you have like a solid mini foundation, you know, things really start to build up on top of that, and you just get better and better. City of Treehouse, 7-day trial when you started, plenty of time to learn basic types, 2 classes, and inheritance. Yeah, I've heard good things about Treehouse as well. I recommend giving it a try. Yep. Best method of cause in a crash report. I don't really know what the question is, but I typically use Crashlytics by the Twitter team, which was acquired by Google, and they do a pretty good job as to describing which line of code crashed your app, and then you have to provide a DSIM to actually to symbolicate your crash reports. Oh man, but I haven't done that in a while. I should make the upcoming map tutorials using Mapbox API. It's pretty nifty. Yeah. I might just have to use the Apple Maps API just to make it easier to integrate. I'm not sure if I want to talk about like how to download a separate SDK in the tutorials, but maybe. Yeah. G Dorji. Ni hao. Hello, Brian. Can you suggest some environment that, in your opinion, is really helpful in being more productive and picking up things faster, like type of OS to use, workspace, looks, etc.? So, as you guys can tell from the filming angle, I'm actually standing up. So, standing up is something that I've been trying over the last 6 months, and I find that it's really helpful if you want to get things done. And then I have the standing desk that I'll provide a review on. And basically you just lift it up and lift it down. When you get tired, you just put it down, you just sit down. And I think it helps to kind of just change up your environment. So that's one recommendation I have. Puneet Verma, I'd love to design you a t-shirt if you haven't done so already. Yeah. Someday when I have a t-shirt business or some kind of t-shirt person that can help me out with managing the production of t-shirts, designing it, shipping it. I think there's a website called Teespring which allows you to just use their factory. They produce t-shirts and you just sell it. And when I have that set up, I'll let you guys know. You guys can purchase a Let's Build That App t-shirt. Adrian says, when you will finish the last part of the Instagram course? So I've finally caught up with producing videos again. Ever since my vacation and VidCon, haven't been able to find the time to just sit down and record. So next week, I am hoping to put out a pagination video. And when I say next week, I really mean next week this time. You're doing an amazing job. You should have like 1 million subscribers. Yeah, I don't really care about getting 1 million subscribers. It's really the ones that are constantly coming back to this channel and watching the content that's important. I have a lot of subscribers that don't watch the content, and that's kind of how YouTube works. What are the pros and cons of Windows? Well, I used to use Windows a lot, and then ever since I wanted to get a job as an iOS developer, I started using Mac OS or OS X back then. I don't really have like a preference for any type of OS, any device, even these microphones, these cameras. I don't really have a preference or anything. As long as it works, gets the job done, and it's relatively cheap in price, then that's the one I'll use. And if something new comes along, then I'll convert to that. I don't have like this fanboy thing for different companies. It's whatever's best, whatever is cheap, and whatever works. That's what I'll use. You definitely have the production quality along with the deep voice. Moreover, the series are what made subscribers. Maybe subscribe on all my accounts. Yeah. Why iOS, not Android? Well, I think the huge reason why I've been doing iOS instead of Android is because my last job was mostly iOS. It was like half and half. I would say 60% iOS and 40% Android. So I was doing more iOS content at the time, so that's kind of what I settled on. Yeah. Hi, Sierra. Beer Jose, your videos are really great, but what are your suggestions for beginners like me? It's kind of hard to say. When you watch this channel and all the videos that I come out with, I kind of assume that people have a pretty good understanding of UI kit, and I can't say that the videos that I put out are like super beginner friendly because I go at such a fast pace. But yeah, just watch me code on this channel, and then you'll start to see how someone does it professionally. Yeah. One thing I do want to say that is, when you're beginning a new skill, trying to learn something new, it's always hard because you just don't know what the heck you're doing, right? But if you spend enough time, like a few months, trying to learn something, for example, like learning how to use a camera for me, filming things, finding the right framing and all that, just takes time. You just got to do it every day, and you'll get better at it. I think Kotlin is going to be one of those new languages that are pretty much everyone's going to adopt for Android development. It's going to take a couple of years though, probably like 4-5 years. That's it. Async display kit, now called texture. I haven't really used it because, so the thing about async display kit is that if you need to achieve 60 frames per second inside of your app, then you should use it. I would say 99% of apps don't need 60 frames per second, so that's probably why I would not recommend using it. Most of the time when your app is like glitchy and it freezes every now and then, it's not really an issue about async display kit. It's really it's really something wrong with your code. Like, you're probably doing You're probably loading things on the UI thread and not getting back on the main thread to refresh the UI. So it's as simple as that. Mogan Chen. Chung Mogan. Favorite part as a developer. Well, being a developer is kind of like being a magician nowadays. If you can create things on the web, write software, write applications on phones, like it's a really, really powerful skill. Yeah. I prefer video tutorials over text tutorials, so I'm taking an iOS course from Stanford with Paul Hegarty. I found the Apple Swift iBooks course to be lacking. Yeah. Is it okay to use one coding style for every language, or should we use default coding style for that language? Every language has a different coding style. So for example, the Swift team writes their code a different way compared to the Kotlin team. So whenever you go from one language to another, you want to make sure you follow whatever language standards are there. Switch case versus if statement. I'm a bigger fan of if statements. I remember reading somewhere like a long time ago about avoiding switch cases and just using if statements. I think it was a Google blog. And the reason is because the switch case is just hard to read. And the benefits of using a switch case is that it actually goes through the matching a lot faster. But writing out that code just seems hard to write and maintain. That's why you don't see a lot of switch cases. But I think that's changed over the past couple of years. How to know all of the properties, how UI elements work. Any guide where I read from. You know, I don't like reading guides. I don't like reading like big, thick sets of documentation. I think when you're trying to learn something, just learn that one thing, like learn how a table view works, and yeah. Yeah, wow. Okay. Oh no, a lot of people here today. How are we doing? Okay, 52 minutes. I'm gonna have to sign out really soon because I'm getting a little bit hungry. A lot of good questions today. Wow. Yeah, Jeffrey. So I know you've gone through the Instagram course, right? Anytime we're loading data, we have to load it asynchronously, and then we have to get back on the main thread to refresh it, to refresh the UI. And most of the time you will not be loading things synchronously. Best video tutorial for is the App Store. Why you didn't finish the slide carousel with a timer? Yeah, that's something I have thought about doing. It's not that difficult, and I've done it for a couple of apps. Yeah. So this is one of the main questions that I get, like, way too often in this channel, hybrid app versus native app. I think, I don't know, it feels like a question that's very, very simple and easy to answer. And sometimes I don't really understand why people even ask this question. So like hybrid apps are, what are hybrid apps? Like progressive web applications, React Native. Are those hybrid apps? I guess so, right? Like native apps aren't going to go away. Yeah. Hey Eli, why don't you use storyboards? Yeah. This question has stopped coming up on this channel, so I'm very thankful for that. Okay, so it looks like a lot of good questions today, and I am going to, let's see, it's 12:30. All right, might have to get ready and start heading out. Make sure I don't stay indoors for too long on a Sunday. How do you handle presenting a view controller or performing segue in a view model? These are methods under view controller class. Yeah, anything that deals with view controller should go into the view controller, right? Okay, so looks like 107 of you guys left in the channel. All right. Oh. So what else do I want to do today? Well, I'm gonna sign out and let you guys enjoy the rest of your day, as well as myself. I think I might hit the gym or do something while I have this cold. I find that it's super helpful to exercise and do some other things while you're not feeling so well. At least that's how it works for me. Kind of get my mind off feeling sick. And then I think I'll get better tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know why, but ever since I moved to San Francisco, it's been like super difficult to stay healthy. I don't know if it's the weather or if it's just super cold over here. So I used to live in Sacramento, which is really, really hot. And then San Francisco is really, really cold. So I think every 2 months I'll get sick for some reason. Maybe I do have to start taking a lot of vitamin C. But yeah. Thanks everyone for joining today, and I'll see you guys again most likely next Sunday. So